This is the Tigers Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Detroit Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome into a live Locked On Tigers Postcast. I am your host, Jake Rietma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma. A slugfest this afternoon at Comerica Park. It's the New York Mets that come in and take the first game of the series. 10-8 the final. Let's get into it. Pitching woes. Charlie Morton roughed up in a big way. We'll get into all of that. And Juan Soto, hey, there's a reason he's the highest paid player in all of Major League Baseball. 6 runs batted in for Soto, and that is a huge part of it. I think we need to have a discussion on Drew Summers and the debacle that was in the bullpen. And of course, I'll have my biggest talking point, turning point, and our player of the game. As always, your comments are welcome. Already people firing up that comment section, and I do appreciate it. And thanks for making the Locked On Tigers Postcast part of your day here on Labor Day. So happy Labor Day. Buckle up, dial it in, and let's get after it. The Detroit Tigers got after it offensively. However, unfortunately, pitching-wise, that was not the case. Tough day for Charlie Morton and the entire pitching staff for the Tigers. And that, my friends, is what we're talking about.
This is what you'll be talking about.
I see a lot of comments about Charlie Morton being relegated to the bullpen or he's not a big league starter. And unfortunately, this Tigers rotation, laced with inconsistency outside of Tarek Skubal, has more questions than answers. And Charlie Summers, there I am talking about how upset I am about Drew Summers. Charlie Morton, a guy that was acquired at the deadline, had success in the postseason under AJ Hinch with the Astros, which seems like a lifetime ago. But he just has these starts in that, rear their ugly head far too often. 3 2/3, 6 runs, 5 hits, 4 walks. I mean, you can't walk 4 guys. Struck out 3, and then obviously the big blow, the Juan Soto grand slam. But this was the type of game, though, that because it was a slugfest, the Tigers weren't out of it at that point. In fact, they came back and tied the game at 6. And you go up and down those scoring plays. I mean, this game was tied at 6. Then, the Mets go ahead 8-6, 9-6, 10-6. Tigers still came back with, a run in the 7th and a run in the 8th to make it 10-8. But back and forth these two teams went, and it felt like because the Tigers pitching was so bad, it was worse than what the Mets were. That's why the Mets were the last team standing in this one. It just feels frustrating to give a game away like this when your offense played as well as they did. You score 8 runs and you expect to win a lot of games. So that being said, you give up 10 runs, you're not going to win too many games. So there's my expert baseball analysis for everybody on a Labor Day. But shout out to Jahmai Jones, first career 4-hit game. He started the game off with a bang with that home run on the first pitch. And then how about the double as well, with Jahmai Jones being one of the bright spots at the plate. There were some rushed at bats. I thought Wenceel Perez in that big spot with 2 on. Mets bring in a new pitcher, and he swings at the first pitch and pops it straight up in the air. It's if it works out, it's great. You're trying to ambush the new pitcher. I get it, but that was one that stood out to me. Good to see Justin Henry Malloy back up in a pinch hitting spot. It didn't go so well, the at bat that is, but unfortunately that's life in the majors. When you're called upon to be a pinch hitter, it's a tough spot to be in. So all that to say, it was an unfortunate outcome, but 2 more games with the Mets, still a chance to win the series. Just got to go get 2 in a row. And that being said, it's time now to get into the comments because, man, there are a lot of them. And the first one is right on cue. Kevin Jeffrey, Charlie Morton should be relegated to the bullpen. I'm really not sure what Charlie Morton brings. Veteran leadership, I know, I get it. A guy that's been there, a guy that has it in him. But, like I said, far too often he has the start of 3 2/3 inning and 5 runs given up or whatever it is, as far as getting shelled in a short outing. Gray Matter is up next. The Tigers should keep Morton's espresso machine and send Charlie down to the Mud Hens where he belongs along with Drew Summers. Yeah, that was a funny piece from Daniela Bruce there talking about the espresso machine that Charlie Morton has, and he and Jahmai Jones are labeling all the beans and getting into the coffee making process. I always love the extra stories that are told. Daniela Bruce does such a great job with that. But I agree. Maybe not sending Charlie Morton down to AAA, but I don't think Charlie Morton trotting him out there in a postseason start is a serious baseball team. I really don't. And I think a lot of people in this comments would agree with me. And that begs the question, who's the next best option? Demetrius McNeil is up next. The Mets pay a lot of money to get Juan Soto, and he gets 6 runs batted in despite the comeback effort from the Tigers. It wasn't meant to be. Oh, well, come back next game. There you go. Yeah, Juan Soto, that home run he hit, deepest part of the ballpark, no doubt about it. I remember covering a Tigers-Padres game when Juan Soto hit one, had to be 480, something ridiculous like that, to dead center field. Guy's a beast. The guy is a beast. There's no doubt about it. Keen Anvil says, anyone thinking the team as constructed isn't getting bounced early in the postseason is delusional. The Yankees and Red Sox aren't the Royals. I was having that discussion today with a Mets fan, good buddy of mine, diehard Mets fan, and I was just telling him, as excited as I am for postseason baseball, I just am nervous and aware of the holes in this team's arsenal, this lineup, and by lineup I mean pitching staff. I just am worried that what we saw today against higher level competition in the postseason is closer to the norm as opposed to the exception. And there's no way. I hope I'm wrong, and I've said that about a lot of things. I said that about the trade deadline takes I had. I hope I am wrong, but at the same time, it's anyone objectively looking at this roster and stacking it up against some of the upper echelon teams in Major League Baseball that you'll see in the playoffs, there's legitimate cause for concern. Sean Gray's up next. 8 runs and 14 hits. You have to win that game. Morton was brutal today. I think we can agree with that. And this comment leads me into the Drew Summers conversation. He has a whip of over 3. Just no. That's how I feel. I do. I think he tore it up in AA, but the jump to the majors has just not gone well. And it's been too big of a jump. He just can't get guys out. He is a walking liability on the mound in more ways than one. And unfortunately, he just seems to come up short far more often than not. And Jason Walter makes a good point here that the defense didn't help. I agree. It wasn't quite as bad as some of the defense we saw in Sacramento, but it had that feel lackadaisical. And I know they didn't give the air the one time on Javi, but they should have, in my opinion. And those are just non-winning plays, right? And I hate to oversimplify it and dumb it down that much, but at the end of the day, when you look at a 10-8 game, there's going to be instances where defensively, and there were instances defensively where this Tigers team just didn't make winning plays. All right, R1 VJ4. Charles doesn't want to help Detroit win as a starter. I agree. Bullpen to eat those innings. I'd rather deal with Melton starting. Summers can't get it done either. Agree. I think we can honestly all agree that Drew Summers, the discussion, in my opinion, is a short one, and it's a see you later. You're not ready, and now is not the time to be trying to work guys in and develop them and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, the harsh reality with this Tigers bullpen, outside of a couple of guys, is you're searching for answers. You are absolutely searching for answers. Javi Baez prods. Is Javi losing his spot? I'll tell you what, his plate approach has not been good post All-Star break, and it's feels like the old Javi. A couple more at bats where he's overmatched. Jahmai Jones bailed him out the one time he struck out with a runner on third and less than 2 outs. Jahmai Jones comes and hits an RBI single to get McKinstry in. So you're not talking about that one as much, but that was a brutal at bat. And it seems like more often than not, Javi Baez is not making winning plays, again, to help this team ultimately earn the W. All right. Robert Den Duvin makes a good point. You aren't going to win with 7 walks and hit by pitches. Yeah, that's a really good point, and that's probably where we end the discussion. Although I will read Mark's comment because I agree with it here. Why is Summers on this team, and why was he in there with Soto at that bat? AJ really does make some questionable decisions. I agree. And you want to say, well, who could they have had in there instead of Drew Summers? And I think there's a discussion to be had about bringing in a different pitcher than Summers, and whether it's Holton or Hannafy or even Melton, I thought gives you a better chance. And for Summers being a lefty, he doesn't get lefties out. Why would we not call on somebody to get a lefty out with a lefty up to bat? I know that's stating the obvious, but goodness sakes, if you're a left-handed relief pitcher in the bigs and you can't get lefties out, what are we doing here? And that's what we're seeing from Drew Summers. Tyler Patterson says you can't leave the bottom of the Mets order to get on base. That's what happened. And Benetti talked about it. So did Dirks. I believe it was 7 of their 10 runs were scored by the bottom of the order. So they're getting on base, and then the heavy hitters are bringing them home. Obviously, the 6 runs batted in by Soto is a testament to that. But we'll keep it rolling here. I've got my turning point and our player of the game, and we'll look ahead to game number 2 as well. That's all coming up next on Live Locked On Tigers Postcast. This episode of the Locked On Tigers Postcast is brought to you by our good friends at Upside. Hey, Locked On Tigers fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code SEASON and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought, whoa, this has got to be too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or even an e-gift card to Amazon and other brands. So don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using the limited time promo code SEASON for a limited 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code SEASON. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Today's episode of the Locked On Tigers Postcast is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like it. Maybe I'm feeling the meat and potatoes, point line bet, or maybe the over-under or something. Or how about you get a little crazy with some player props or a same game parlay. I love that. And you can even jump in on the live action if you've got a hunch in the middle of a game. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Today's episode of the Locked On Tigers Postcast is also brought to you by Prize Picks. That's right. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, my friends, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football being back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. So what are you waiting for? It's quick, it's easy, and honestly, it's my favorite way to follow along with football because you're just picking more, you're picking less, and it's you against the stat lines. There's nothing else going on in Prize Picks. That's what makes it so fun and easy to win. And the best part, even if one of your pick misses, Prize Picks invented the flex play so you can still double your money. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use that code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Wow, we are really keeping the lights on at the Locked On Podcast Network. Tigers lose to the Mets 10-8, the final in this one. And let's get into our turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Oh, yes, it is the turning point, and right on cue that fire in the liner right away, not just waiting. Okay, but turning point in this one, obviously the Soto grand slam initially turns the game upside down, but this Tiger team fights back. That's what they do on a day where the gritty Tigers were on full display. McKinstry triples to right, scoring Dylan Dingler. Jahmai Jones singles McKinstry home, and then in the fifth, you get Torkelson's scoring on the wild pitch to tie the game at 6. But in that top of the 6th inning where the game turned, Juan Soto with that 2-run triple. And what makes it even more tough to swallow or difficult to fathom, as we've discussed at length already, where the game turned with Drew Summers pitching. I mean, in a tie game, lefty trying to get through the 6th inning, and he's just unable to do so. Now the Tigers had some time following that 6th inning, but the wind just being taken out of the sails on you fight so hard to get back to tie the game after giving up a grand slam, and then the bullpen does not do their job. Now that said, the Tigers bullpen for the month of August was really, really good. They deserve a lot of props. They deserve the flowers there. And I believe Tigers PR tweeted out that their ERA was the lowest in the bigs in the month of August. So that being said, hey, we're not just going to hone in on making it, such a terrible day with Drew Summers, but at the same time, that's where this game turned. There is no doubt about it. Let me make sure I had that Tigers PR stat correctly, because nothing worse than not adequately and correctly. So here it was. Bullpen posted a 2.98 ERA in August, ranking 2nd among all MLB teams. So not first, but 2nd. But you get the idea. But that's where the game turned. How about a player of the game?
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Oh, yeah. It is, of course, the Juan Soto experience. Got to give him a lot of credit there. Juan Soto, the grand slam, the 2 RBI triple, 6 runs batted in, accounting for 6 of the Mets' 10 runs batted in. And then as far as a run scoring perspective, obviously he was climbing up the stat sheet in that department as well. In the 6 RBI, he scores 2 runs as well. So Juan Soto, your player of the game. But Tigers will look to bounce back tomorrow. It's an evening start, 6:40 first pitch. And I believe it was announced. In fact, want to just confirm it here that Sawyer Gipson-Long is going to start. He will. Nolan McLean for the Mets, a really good young pitcher. So a battle of a couple of youngsters, and Sawyer Gipson-Long will get the start for the Tigers. And then in the finale, it's Casey Mize and Clay Holmes in the day game action. So Tigers lose to the Mets. They'll try to bounce back tomorrow. Happy Labor Day. Thanks so much for tuning in to a live Locked On Tigers postcast. And of course, check out Locked On Tigers with Scott Bentley, and make sure you like today's video and subscribe. And with football season coming, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Locked On Lions. Check that out with Matt Derry. And then our Locked On Lions squad show with myself, Natalie Kerwin of FanDuel Sports, and Bradford Banta, former NFL vet. So there you have it. Lots of good stuff on the horizon as we move into the fall with September baseball, NFL football, college football as well, Locked On Wolverines, and of course, the Locked On Wolverines postcast. Check that out as well. All good things, and we appreciate it. And I also appreciate everyone that comments, thanks for the show. That's always so nice. I appreciate when people are grateful, because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the Tigers post-game show on Locked On Tigers. So have a wonderful rest of your Labor Day, as we close out summer and get ready for a fun fall. Back with you tomorrow on Locked On Tigers postcast.